Hello and welcome back to Panzer Corps Gold and playing hardball and the last turn of the Volturno line, a mission. Let's see. Yeah, I think we have a victory here, but let's not get cocky or anything. So let's maybe start here with our pioneers. And many thanks for all your comments, by the way. Things are getting where I'd like them. Yeah, there's actually, these two guys. Yeah, we ran out of ammo here. Yeah, and I wanted to comment a little bit on the comments. Now that I read them, and I did not have more episodes pre-recorded. So, I mean, of course it was a risk making a counteroffensive. And historically, the Germans, I mean, they did a little bit in that regard, but not on a grand scale like we did here, literally. Cutting off the forces, and of course, as I had explained before, our forces coming from the north here of the map, which is of course more the eastern part of the peninsula. So roughly this direction, that's north, of course, geographically north. Yeah, our guys coming from around here, circling around. This would not have been possible without significant forces securing this left flank here, obviously, right? In case Allied forces would come from here. But I thought, well, for the purpose of role-playing here, we were just imagining that the enemy was not there in strength or anything. Yeah, and we made sure that no one could come around. And of course, there were some risks here. Like, for example, if the AI, so to speak, yeah, it's not a real AI, of course, but if our opponent here was smarter, then of course things would have been more dangerous in driving around. And I don't think that anybody would have just thrown their troops around here while we were advancing from here, right? So they would have redirected their forces most likely. On the other hand, you know, they had this one, Telese, the victory location, and what they wanted was to press through. So, and I mean, we had a pretty good, and we have a pretty good location here around the city of Caserta, with the swamp and everything and the river, and we managed to destroy them. Yeah, so that's why I dedicated the fighters here as well, and the artillery and so on, and our Fallschirmjäger. But of course, if the enemy had been a little bit smarter and the troops were actually more realistically in historical terms, which means there were way more planes around, way more Allied planes around, and way more Allied artillery around, and also way more naval artillery, then it would have been way more dangerous. Yeah, and that's again a thing where I have to say that I find this mission fun, but it's really not very accurate. Yeah, and the German forces, they were hopelessly outnumbered, of course. Although, like, I think later on they managed to outnumber. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the landing in Anzio behind the Gustav line, where the Germans outnumbered the Allied 125,000 to 100,000 or something. But later on, I will talk a little bit more about the bigger strategic picture. Yeah, but just so around here, I mean, I personally, I can appreciate it that we cut off the enemy. Yeah, we've created a pocket now, and we're crushing them here, and then we've taken everything. And don't forget, guys and gals out there, we are playing this here also as a walkthrough, so this is like an optimized thing. Yeah? I mean, obviously it's not super historically accurate, but again, most of the missions here are not anyway. And there are numerous things here. For example, like during the whole Italian campaign, the Allied forces strategically bombarded many of the Italian cities, and we've never seen that. Yeah, we didn't even get a text box or something that said, "Oh well, our ammunition dumps have been exploded," and so on and so on. Yeah, and the Allied forces, they were especially targeting railway hubs, yeah, and the airfields and ammo dumps. Yeah, so we've not seen any of that. And contrary, we were actually able to form a pretty effective core here. since the first mission. I felt that the first missions were particularly hard with the troops that were provided to us here on our general level. Yeah, so and we recall there is another field marshal level above this one. And in the beginning of this Let's Play, I chose not to take this highest one because I suspected, and I think I'm right there, that this game doesn't make the enemy smart or anything, but you just have more and more troops, and then it's just getting tedious, yeah, as I said in the beginning. And then it's not so much fun, especially as we have this very, very strong random number generator, and literally you can have one turn, and if they destroy you, like if they destroy 3 or so of your units very significantly, then it's literally over. Then the scenario is over and you in principle have to restart it. So you need to be super careful with everything. And follow the advice never to let the enemy hit you in the first place. Yeah. So let's go on here. Salerno. By the way, this was Naples, yeah. So let's drive forward. I mean, I doubt that there will be more enemies now. Or let's actually, no, we are not doing this right now. Firstly, we are going to bombard these guys some more. These are here 3. We've cleared everything around here, so we definitely want this guy to be shot. Our Tiger could take out these guys with ease. So let's do that. And yeah. That's good. Our Fallschirmjäger can take the last parts, the northern parts of Naples, or it's rather the northeastern part, if this here is north. Then you guys get a shot at this infantry here, the last US heavy weapon squad. Nice hit there, nice. Nice, nice, nice. 7 suppressed, good. Then you guys here, this is our experimental Dornier 335A. And by the way, guys, I found an interesting video. I mean, it's in German, but you can watch it with subtitles, I guess. And I also put a link into this mission's first episode, where we are collecting everything in a sticky comment that I made there. And if you want, if you have any, as always, yeah, if you have any interesting resources or so that's worthy to read or to watch, please name them and I will write them into that comment as well. So you guys, you are above the target. 4. And let's fly here. Maybe we can find someone. But yeah, we've made actually rather sure that there are no more enemies here. Which is of course one of the, in a way, one of the disadvantages with the game. I mean, in principle, there could be forces coming from the south here, right? Like this here, the whole eastern part of the map is actually the south. But we know that they are not coming. So in that regard, of course, in a way, I'm cheating a little bit. Because we would need to defend these positions here, of course, right? Although I would also argue we would have our garrison forces along the Volturno line here, and only use these guys here as a mobile force to crush the enemy. But we would not commit, you know, would not commit our forces here actually. Yeah. As a general, I would have said, okay, well, we just do this operation here to crush the enemy and also to demoralize them. And then, after that is done, we've encircled these guys here and destroyed them all. Then we can see that we are pushing forward again and take over the whole peninsula. But at the same time, due to the dangers for our flanks from amphibious landings all over the Italian peninsula, or like, well, wherever there is a suitable beach, of course. That's why the Nazi Germans wanted actually to evacuate the southern part of the peninsula. Yeah, so they could rather concentrate their forces and not be too overstretched. So, Then we've got one guy here, which means we have... Oh yeah, actually, and yeah, our infantry here. These guys. So they only have the Iron Cross. Let's attack them. So they held up pretty nicely here, these guys. And I think, weren't they on strength 11? I thought so. I would have thought they would have suffered way more casualties here, which is why I used them. Being the lowest strength and experience, because I was actually thinking that they would suffer. So we got pretty lucky here, all in all, I think. And we lost a very expensive tank. And here, especially with our Panthers, or wasn't it? Or where was it? Here, these guys. Yeah. But all in all, everything went pretty well. So let's actually drive here. Or like you guys can drive there first. Why is it all 0? Yeah, we need to pound them, that's for sure. You guys get ammo. You guys get ammo. I hope we can at least suppress them. Because I want to send some planes over there. And I mean, in principle, they could also drive around. But I wanted the infantry to take this one. Oh, but on the other hand, like our Tiger could also drive around, like here. Like you guys definitely go here. And then the Tiger could go here, and then we can... Well, this Tiger is not providing the initiative decrease for flanking them. Yeah, they can't get there. Although Wehrmacht, no, 1, 2, 3, no, they can't get there. Yeah, we need to use the Wehrmacht. So you guys can... No, how to do this? Yeah, we need to block them. So Tiger drives there. You guys, our Wurfrahmen, you shoot them. Yeah, they've got 2 entrenchment, by the way. Maybe that's the reason. Okay. No one hit. Only 2 suppressed. And then our Hummel. You guys drive here, just in case. Ah yeah, and you get 1. Oh, well. But 7 suppressed. Okay, well, now we could dare to do an air attack. And we don't have any more artillery to support. But let's hope they're not downing a plane now. Come on. 4. Okay, good. Ah, that went actually pretty well. Because now they are all suppressed. Excellent. Then, yeah, let's not take any risks here. Our strongest guys. That's our Panther A. Regular Wehrmacht. This is the maximum experience, by the way. 425 points. With our 2 heroes here, spotting and attack +2. You guys can manage to mess them up, right? Good. Beautiful. We've destroyed all the enemy. And now... Yeah, let's actually... Oh, let's go here. Oh, no. We're going here. And you guys go here, and we are taking the last town. And I think this is the victory, because now the enemy can't deploy any more forces anywhere on the map. But let's be careful. So you guys, you go there. Did we have... This was our defense guy. Well, you can drive here and then we can see everything. Yeah, okay, good. So, nothing else here. No more enemy forces. Then we are just refueling and everything. But let's be careful and provide a defensive fighter. Here like this. You guys fly there. I've got a fighter here. And these guys here. Then the Tigers, like, just in case, but I don't think that anybody will fly in here, so. And I think that's it. I don't see anything green here. Good. Ending the turn and... nothing. Okay. Then we're flying here. You guys can check out this here now. Okay, as expected. Although, no, just a second. You drive here. You go there. You guys... I know I'm wasting a little bit of time here. You guys drive there. But let's do everything properly, right? Shall we? You guys fly there. So, and we've got total control. Which is a good feeling. There. They're all good, yeah. Well. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, no. Our guys really deserved, you know, a good night's sleep now. And that's what they get. So, ending the turn. And then, yes, we have the decisive victory. Proceed. Powerful finish to your latest campaign, Herr General. You've managed to solidify our defensive lines and forced our enemy's advance to a mere snail's pace. This campaign has had its ups and downs for certain, but it is far from over and our forces are far from defeated. Before you are deployed to future campaigns, I am to inform you that you and your men are being rotated back to Germany briefly for rest and refitting. This period of downtime will not last indefinitely, however, so be prepared to be called to duty again soon. The Grand Campaign 43 West has been completed, our core force and prestige have been automatically saved. When we start a Grand Campaign 44 West, we will be prompted to import our core force and prestige into that campaign. Well, I hope so, that works well. So, and here we are. And I think we need to use here this one. So, and now you see it again, what we did, right, in the beginning. So, it's this here. And this is what we all of this we played already, so. This was 42, 43 West. Yeah. And now we need to go on with the 43 East, following the defeat at Stalingrad. Well, actually, were we defeated? I don't think so. I think that was a tactical retreat. That was no defeat. What are they talking about? Our Wehrmacht aims to reclaim the initiative on the Eastern Front by eliminating the Soviet bulge at Kursk. Ah yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let's take General again. Play. You can play this campaign using your core force from a previous campaign. Do you want to import an existing core force? Yes. February 19th, 1943. Ah yeah, so we are traveling back in time a little bit. Although we've been, yeah, it doesn't make sense, of course, yeah. But well, at the same time, we are also in Italy right now, but whatever. So, February 19th, 1943. I apologize for pulling you back to active duty so soon, Herr General, but you and your men are desperately needed. As your Generalfeldmarschall, I will keep you informed of your objectives and share intelligence with you as it becomes available during these briefings. Before you lead your troops in battle, let me explain our current situation. Despite our best efforts to resupply forces trapped in Stalingrad, we have lost all contact with the 6th Army. In addition to this loss, the Soviets have gone on the offensive and retaken several major cities, including Kharkov. As one of the few combat-ready formations left in the region, it falls upon you to strike back at our overextended and vulnerable enemy. In order to crush this new Soviet winter offensive, it is vital that you retake Kharkov and force the Russians back over the Donets River. Although most of the river is currently frozen and easily traversed, our weather reports show that the spring thaw is approaching quickly. Once the ice on the river is gone, attempting to cross should prove an insurmountable barrier for the Russians, assuming you provide at least several units to defend the west bank of the river. As a warning, though, you should not attempt to advance over the Donets River with any of your forces, as there are reports of large enemy formations behind the enemy lines that could mobilize at any time. Before you embark on your mission, there is an additional matter you should be aware of. We have learned that several high-ranking Soviet officers have been spotted around Kharkov, and we would like to, question several of them. If you manage to capture any of these officers, escort their BA-64 units to the area on your tactical map labeled Sector A Capture Zone, and we'll take them into custody after the battle. Crush the enemy armored spearheads, retake Kharkov, and drive the Soviets back across the Donetsk. Good luck, Herr General. Note, special elite unit limit for this campaign is 6 now. Oh, great. Experience cap has been set to 525. Great. Is there actually more than 500? Well, so that's interesting. Let's talk a little bit more firstly about the Italian campaign that is now done. Like at least up to 43. So, what we've seen, and that was let's talk about this bigger strategic picture. So the Allied forces decided, and it was more a pet project of Churchill, to invade Italy, the soft underbelly of Europe, because they estimated that they could push Italy out of the war and also force the Germans to commit troops in Italy that would be missed not only in France but also on the Eastern Front. And Stalin demanded opening up a new front for quite a while. And well, while the Allied forces in the West and the East, they distrusted each other, and rightly so, of course, because everybody knows who Stalin was today, at least. And I would think that they knew back then as well, but they just thought, well, and according, by the way, to the Chinese strategy, ally with your far enemy to defeat the near enemy. Things were certainly not so smooth between them, but they wanted to keep, like the Western allies wanted to keep Stalin and the Soviet Union fighting, of course, and keep them on the offensive. So it would be way easier for the Western allies, and especially the British Empire with the American help, that became more and more the primary force, on the other hand, to defeat Nazi Germany. So, and therefore they invaded Sicily and then landed on the Italian peninsula, pushed the Germans back on the peninsula, steadily, slowly but steadily, while the Germans used the terrain and formed one defensive line after another. So General Kesselring's strategy worked out, actually. So the German strategic goal was to just prolong the Allied advance. They knew that they could not win this, I guess, but they could prolong it for a very long time, and I guess they hoped that at some point the Allies would just say, okay, well, it's not worth the trouble and the losses and so on. We leave the Germans be or so, which was, of course, a very wrong consideration and a very wrong estimation. But that's where they went, what they went for. And while the German troops fought this withdrawal, the tactical withdrawal, gaining time, they fortified these defensive positions, of which the Volturno line that we fought this last battle in was the first real fortified line. After that came the Barbara line, after that the Gustav line. And with the Gustav line, that was the last one before Rome, and part of it was this monastery Messina, which the Allied forces, or especially the United States, wrongly bombed because they thought there were German troops up there, but there weren't, and the Germans actually managed to evacuate the monks and all the art there, fortunately. And then this monastery that had existed for very many years was bombed into oblivion, and then German troops occupied the ruins, which made them an even literally more formidable fortress up there on the mountain. So, and the whole thing cost let's not talk about the last aspect of it. So so they took after that the Gustav line. but that with only a lot of trouble, and only by landing in another amphibious landing at Anzio, if I'm remembering the Italian name correctly. So that was literally behind the Gustav line, where the Allied forces were in a beachhead that the German troops contained, but also were not able to destroy completely. But that also drew the troops away from the Gustav line. And then I personally would describe it in a way that the Allies kind of played a little bit cat and mouse with the German troops, because they continually assaulted the Gustav line, which of course caused casualties. Yeah, and due to the overwhelming air superiority and artillery barrages of the Allied forces, the Germans couldn't do too much. Yeah, you would actually think that the German losses were actually rather low in comparison to the attackers, but it was actually more or less even. Yeah, I read about different numbers, but eventually they managed to pierce the Gustav line and then push the German troops back further. They took Rome, hoped that the Germans would rout, but the Germans withdrew in an orderly fashion and went to the next defensive line, which was the Gothic line. Yeah, and that was like then literally the end of the war. But the Allies were so far north in Italy already that they managed actually to fly over the Alps and bombard the southern parts of Germany and also Austria. Yeah, that was the strategic goal, literally, not only to pull the Italians out of the war, and where the Italians didn't participate in any fighting anymore, the Germans had to invest more troops even, to do the garrison and other duties that the Italians had done before. So that was actually a strategic success, yeah, in my opinion, and certainly in objective aspects as well. Although, and that's where other people disagree, the losses were rather high. So what I read is that the Allies lost something between more than 200,000 or 215,000, 350,000 casualties. And the Germans also like something between 300,000 or so, 350 or so, depending on the sources. Which is a surprise to me personally, because I would have thought that with all these excellent defensive positions, they had actually the advantage. But I guess, due to the fact that the Germans had logistical problems, they didn't have enough ammo as always, and other stuff. They couldn't bring in enough fuel, of course, as always. But the defensive terrain was a good thing for them. And well, then let's remember the supreme Allied firepower. Yeah, so that was literally more an attrition, a fight of attrition, you could say, but with the named strategic result. So, and then so far, I think the Italian campaign was an Allied victory, all in all, a strategic Allied victory. And there we are. So now we are in Kharkov, and that is pretty interesting. So this was the last successful grander German offensive, and it was so successful that the Germans, and especially Adolf Hitler, were thinking, oh well, we are so good, we can just punch them. And after this came Kursk. That was this grandest tank battle of the Second World War, literally, in numbers, I think. I have to do a little bit more reading there. Yeah. But so Kharkov in 43 was the precursor. There we are. Oh yeah, and we've got some new stuff here. And let's have a look around here a little bit. Oh yeah, it's a pretty big map. Yeah. And the Germans let the Soviets come, but let their offensive, get ahead so far that they got logistical problems, and then of course also communication problems and so on. And then they messed them up and could retake Kharkov. Is it here? Oh, I can't see it. Okay. Well, then let's look at our guys here. 43 Grenadiers. Yeah, and here, by the way, this is our original crew. I'm really looking forward to seeing the long legs again. Makes sense, by the way. I never felt that it was like a good thing to bring our units from the east to the west and so on. especially if there were problems with fuel and so on. Yeah, you wouldn't do that. And also, if these troops are like specialists in anti-Soviet warfare now and everything, yeah, even though they could actually have a little vacation in southern France or whatever. So then we've got this here. Yeah, we already know those. The Messerschmitt 410A and this U 188A, which I prefer. Like, I prefer the Messerschmitt because the Messerschmitt can also attack in the air actively. Well, the Junkers is a bit tougher. Yeah, and the Messerschmitt is also quicker. And I've got these guys here in 43 now, and the Stuk 3. Yeah, let's see. So, but that's certainly interesting. So, where's Kharkov? Is it here? That's Vodolaha. Ah, this here. It must be Kharkov. Ah, yeah, okay. We have another victory location. Okay, so, and by the way, so what was it? What do we have to do? Capture all objectives and escort at least 3 captured Russian officers in Sector A. Okay, where's Sector A? Oh, I guess it will show up once we've deployed our units and started the first turn. Yeah, well, so, but, well, let's recall. So, what happened here was a grand German victory thanks to a tactical withdrawal, letting the enemy come. Their offensive got out of steam. They were crushed, and then the German counter-offensive was quite successful because the the troops in deeper territory were disorganized, of course, the Soviet ones, and could be crushed easily. And then they retook Kharkov and another city, I forgot the name right now. And that formed, I think it formed some form of a salient. I believe Kursk should be to the southeast of here, but I could be mistaken. Yeah, and that was the groundwork where the Germans thought, okay, we can do another grand battle and I think have another encirclement at Kursk and destroy a grand number of Russian troops. But it all this whole thing became a Pyrrhic experience then, and then the greatest defeat of the Germans that really broke their backs. And after that, their offensive power was spent. So, but here right now, this will be another grand victory, hopefully. Yeah, well. And yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I think... I know, here's the A. I didn't see it firstly here. This is the A. We need to evacuate them here to interrogate them, okay? Yeah, let's see how that works. So I did enjoy the Italian campaign to a degree, but for me personally, it was very annoying that how the mission design was done, yeah, in a lot of regards. But all in all, I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, of course, like as a player, it's more fun if you have good units and so on. And it took us several missions to compensate for this, in my opinion, rather bad troop selection that we had to start with. But I guess, you know, like if you think you're a commander and someone else who's not so competent is doing stuff, and then you know, we came there because the person responsible before was overwhelmed, then obviously it takes a while, you know, to compensate for all the bad decisions. So, and there we are. And what happens next? We will see in the next episode here on Kharkov. This is the strategic airfield. Yeah, we have to take those. And then here, it's more here on the eastern side. Bohodukhiv and Zolochiv. Or could be this one that I meant before. Like these two towns or so. And can we see Kupiansk? Oh, I think Kupiansk says something. It rings a bell. But more like from the Russian invasion of Ukraine right now. Svatova. Troitske. Kupiansk. This here is Shevchenkova. Valuiki. Voichansk. Yeah. Okay, so well. Our main focus will be west of the river, Donetsk, therefore. Yeah, and we got the warning that there might be a lot of trouble here on this side. By the way, this is Oskol River. But well, there are some juicy towns to be taken as well. And I could think that maybe there's something to be gained if we get those. Who knows? But by the way, in the last Italian mission we did not get any special unit, right? Although I really saw to it that that we were there early, so there was another turn coming up. Yeah, well. Not even a single rusty Sherman or so. Well, that was fun. So, we're continuing on the Eastern Front. Many thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, how about a thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to never ever miss an episode again on Playing Hardball. And while you wait for the next episodes, how about you check out some other Let's Plays on the channel? Just click on my channel name. As always, you know that. Yeah, and you find other playlists, cool stuff that is happening, that has happened and is going to happen on Playing Hardball. And as always, the comment section is all yours. You're heartily invited to share your thoughts. And it's much appreciated. And you know that all your activity on the channel, like liking, subscribing and commenting, is appreciated by the evil algorithm. And that helps me a little bit here grow this whole thing, so it is sustainable at some point. And making a little dream come true. So, many thanks. See you next time. Bye-bye.